Hi, I'm John Green. Welcome to my salon. This is Mental Floss on YouTube. And did you know that among all of the drawings in Norton Juster's original The Phantom Tollbooth, there is not a single drawing of Milo in a toll booth? Anyway, that's the first of many facts about your favorite children's books I'm going to share with you today. When E.B. White was once asked why he wrote Charlotte's Web, he responded with a 2.5-page letter about spiders in his barn and pigs. Wait, did someone say pigs? Time to put a quarter in the Staff Pork Chop Party Fund. Man, that's some pig. Anyway, at the end of the letter he wrote, "I haven't told why I wrote the book, but I haven't told why I sneeze either. A book is a sneeze." Katherine Paterson, on the other hand, can tell you exactly where she found the inspiration for Bridge to Terabithia. One of her son's best friends, Lisa, was struck by lightning and killed when she was just 8 years old. As for the mixed-up files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, it was based in part on a 1965 story from the New York Times in which the Metropolitan Museum purchased a genuine Italian Renaissance statue for just $225. So it was that combined with, our universal human desire to hide in bathrooms until museums close. Maurice Sendak based the Where the Wild Things Are monsters on his Polish relatives who came to live with his parents in New York after surviving the Holocaust. Sendak described them as cheek pinchers with crazy faces and wild eyes. Before he became a famous author, by the way, Sendak illustrated Mrs. Piggle Wiggle's farm, which I bring up entirely because somebody just said pig. 2 quarters in one video. What is it, my birthday? Mrs. Piggle Wiggle is one of the many now famous children's stories that started out as an attempt to lull the author's small children to sleep. Others include Babar, Winnie the Pooh, and The Hobbit. Sick, neurotic, and masochistic are just a few of the words that critics have used to refer to Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree. Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham is a little less controversial. It was written after Seuss's editor bet him that he couldn't write a book using 50 words or less. The 50 words are A, am, and, anywhere, are, be, boat, box, car, could, dark, do, eat, eggs, fox, goat, good, green ham, here, house, I, if, in, let, like, may, me, mouse, not, on, or, rain, Sam, say, see, so, thank, that, thee, them, there, they, train, tree, try, will, with, would, and you. I did it. Speaking of Seuss, he wrote The Cat in the Hat because he thought that kids needed a more interesting way to learn basic words than the boring Dick and Jane series. Also, to make sure that his publisher was paying attention, Dr. Seuss inserted this line into a first draft of Hop on Pop: "When I read, I am smart. I always cut whole words apart. Constantinople, Timbuktu, contraceptive kangaroo." His publisher, of course, was paying attention. The line was later changed to "My father can read big words too, like Constantinople and Timbuktu." Margaret Wise Brown had no children. She left all future proceeds of her book Goodnight Moon to a neighbor who was 9 years old at the time. He has since made, and mostly spent, more than $5 million off of it. Mo Willems, best known for Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus and Knuffle Bunny, started his career as a writer and animator for Sesame Street, where he won 6 Emmys. Not easy working for Sesame Street. For starters, you gotta know how to count. Since it was first published in 1969, Eric Carle's The Very Hungry Caterpillar has sold a copy every minute. Beatrix Potter, who wrote The Tale of Peter Rabbit, was notorious for disliking children. This is actually pretty common among children's book writers. Not me, others. According to fellow kids author Roald Dahl, he convinced his mother to take him to see Beatrix Potter at her farm when he was just 6. And Beatrix happened to be working outside when they arrived, and she asked Roald what he wanted. He told her that he wanted to meet Beatrix Potter, to which she responded, "Well, you've met her. Now buzz off." Ugh, such a Mr. McGregor move. The grown-up Dahl used to tell his daughters stories about one of his most famous characters, the BFG, long before the book existed. And after he told his kids BFG stories at bedtime, he would climb a ladder outside of their bedroom window and use a bamboo cane to blow dreams into their room, just like his big friendly giant. One more Roald Dahl tidbit. An early draft of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory featured a 6th child, in addition to Augustus, Mike, Violet, Veruca, and Charlie. Her name was Miranda Piker, and she met her untimely demise when she was ground into powder by one of Willy Wonka's candy machines after refusing to listen to him. So the next time you read The Polar Express or anything else illustrated by Chris Van Allsburg, keep an eye out for a white bull terrier. He sticks one into most of his work works in homage to his brother-in-law's dog Winston, who served as a model for his first book. In the Polar Express, you can find a Winston puppet on the bedpost. Margaret and H.A. Rey fled from France on bicycles during World War II. They escaped the Nazis by mere hours, and included among the few possessions they took with them was a manuscript for the book that would eventually become Curious George, which would then go on to become an epically bad movie. Pippi Longstocking's full name is Pippalata Delicatessa Windowshade Mackerel Mint Ephraim's daughter Longstocking. Ramona Quimby came about when Beverly Cleary noticed that every kid in her book Henry Huggins was an only child, so to remedy this, she tossed in a little sister for Beezus. Speaking of which, people often ask me why most of the kids in my books are only children. It's a joke that I have with my brother. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said that he was inspired to become a falconer by Gene Craighead George's My Side of the Mountain. In all of R.L. Stine's Goosebumps series, no one actually dies. How is it still so scary? The author of Frog and Toad, Arnold Lobel, was father-in-law to Mark Lynn Baker, aka Cousin Larry on Perfect Strangers, which may help explain why Lynn Baker later played Toad on Broadway. So look for Hank Green playing Augustus Waters in The Fault in Our Stars on Broadway later this year. That is a joke, just in case like EW wants to take that out of context or something. Audrey Penn was inspired to write The Kissing Hand when she saw a mother raccoon rubbing her nose in her baby raccoon's paw, then the baby would rub its paw against its own cheek and the two would repeat the process over and over. A park ranger explained that the mother was marking her baby with her scent so they could find each other if they got separated. Penn wrote the story and I've been awing ever since. Other names considered for Nancy Drew: Diana Dare, Stella Strong, Helen Hale, and Nan Nelson. The names for the houses at Hogwarts came to J.K. Rowling while she was on a plane, so she jotted them down on an air sickness bag, which she still has, by the way. Presumably it's otherwise unused. The look for Anne of Green Gables was based on Evelyn Nesbit, one of the it girls of the early 1900s. It's kind of like if Kim Kardashian had inspired the look of Katniss Everdeen, which maybe she did. Probably not. Stan and Jan Berenstain didn't just write about their namesake bears. Among their other credits, How to Teach Your Children About Sex. The first incarnation of Corduroy the Bear appeared in a story by author Don Freeman called Corduroy, the Inferior Decorator, about a little boy who insisted on painting all over the walls of his parents' house. That book never saw the light of day, but Freeman liked the name, so he kept it when he created his popular teddy bear character. Corduroy is a good name for a bear, but not as good as Mark Cellophane. In 1956, author Michael Bond saw a toy bear sitting alone on a shelf on Christmas Eve, and he felt bad for the bear, so he bought it. He named it Paddington because he and his wife lived near Paddington Station in London at the time, and it was only later that he started writing stories about a marmalade sandwich-loving bear. Talking animals like Paddington once had no place in China. In fact, for a time, even classics like Alice in Wonderland were banned in parts of the country because, according to a 1931 statement by General Ho Chien, bears, lions, and other beasts cannot use a human language. To attribute to them such a power is an insult to the human race. It's a little overly sensitive. It's almost like he secretly knew that animals could talk. Like sometimes I hear this donkey whisper, "Why are you making me wear a party hat and a tutu?" Despite the fact that the cover of Stregonona declares that it's an old tale retold and illustrated by Tommy DePaola, the author actually invented the character. It was his publisher's idea to brand it as an old folktale. Norman Bridwell almost called his famous big red dog Tiny until his wife suggested Clifford, the name of her childhood imaginary friend. Lewis Sacker's Holes was originally supposed to be called Wrong Place, Wrong Time, Wrong Kid. Strangely enough, that's kind of how I feel about Shia LaBeouf, who of course played Stanley Caveman Yelnats in the film adaptation. The author and illustrator of Madeline, Ludwig Bemelmans, painted a mural of Central Park at a bar in the Carlisle Hotel, and he decided to include a Madeline cameo in the mural. That's right, Madeline is chilling at a bar in New York City. Something is not right indeed. Between 1986 and 2000, Scholastic published 213 novels in the Babysitter Club series, each of them classics. In total, there are more than 176 million copies of Babysitter's Club books in print. A Wrinkle in Time was rejected by at least 26 publishers. Among their arguments were that it was too different because it deals overtly with the problem of evil, and was it a children's or an adult book anyhow? There are persistent rumors that the title character from Kay Thompson's Eloise was inspired by her goddaughter who grew up in hotels, but the goddaughter, who just happens to be Liza Minnelli, says that that's not true. The Olivia book series came about when author Ian Falconer decided to make a present for his niece, Olivia. After 2 decades of writing children's books, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Days author Judith Viorst turned to Freudian psychology. When The Boxcar Children was first published, there were some upset adults who felt that children shouldn't be enjoying themselves so much without any adult supervision, to which I say, is being a kid hobo living in a boxcar really that fun? 250,000 copies of Pat the Bunny are produced every year, enough to cover 6 football fields in those tiny little squares of peekaboo cloth. And lastly, I return to my salon to tell you that S.E. Hinton was just 17 when her novel The Outsiders was published in 1967. And yes, she is a she. S.E. stands for Susan Eloise. And even though The Outsiders came out almost 50 years ago, S.E. Hinton is still writing books, and they're still very good. Thanks for watching Mental Floss here on YouTube, which is made with the help of all of these nice people. Every week we endeavor to answer one of your mind-blowing questions. This week's question comes from Lucy, who asks, how many organs do people have? Well, Lucy, it depends on your definition of organ. I mean, most people don't have any organs at all. Other people have bought, 1 or 2 from a church or something. Right, but we have to define what an organ is. The most widely accepted definition is that an organ is a collection of tissues that work together to do something. But by this definition, it means that each individual bone and muscle counts as an organ, and we quickly reach 1,000. So it depends. Maybe as few as 60, maybe as many as 1,700. Anyway, if you have a mind-blowing question you'd like answered, please leave it below in comments. We'll try to answer it. Thank you again for watching, and as we say in my hometown, don't forget to be awesome. P.S. Me from the future here to tell you that today's episode of Mental Floss is brought to you by Audible.com, a leading provider of audiobooks and other forms of audio entertainment. Audible allows you to download audiobooks from a massive library of 150,000 titles. You can download, for instance, The Fault in Our Stars for free by signing up now at audible.com/mentalfloss, or any other book you want, but mostly The Fault in Our Stars.